Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller, the podcast. I'm joined by Seth.
Hey, welcome, guys. Thanks for finding us on the internet.
Now, these shows originally aired on Brookings Radio, but now they're all here for your enjoyment. I hope you like it.
There you go. Sit back, enjoy the show, relax. Let us know if you want to see anything on future shows. As we said, this comes out live in the Brookings area, but enjoy this archive episode.
Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Welcome to Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. It's hard to believe, but this is our 200th episode. Thank you. Looking ahead to this show, I was trying to decide the best way to mark such a momentous occasion. I decided we'd simply have some fun. So I chatted with Seth Cook and Derek Schmidt at Wooden Legs Brewing and Drew Eklund from the Brookings Liquor Store about, you guessed it, beer. And without further ado, here we go. The answers come in this order: Seth, Derek, me, Drew. What was your first ever craft beer?
Easy Street, Wheat, or Fat Tire, or some combination thereof, with probably the first craft beers that I tried. Also, maybe some Boulevards.
Derek?
Yeah, I was just trying to think as well. I can't really pin it to a specific beer. I know that what really started to get me into beer were kind of like the Guinnesses and the darker beers. But it had to have been a Fat Tire, I think, was one of the first beers that my stepdad actually tried to get me into. But I kind of remember the tipping point for me was actually a Surly Darkness tapping that he drugged me to. And that was kind of one of the first points that I knew that I was kind of getting into the craft beer scene.
I actually do remember my very first one because it was at my brother's house and he introduced me to it. He had just done some homebrew beer, which was also pretty good. And then he gave me a Sam Adams Boston Lager. And this was sometime, I don't remember the date, probably late 88, 89, somewhere in there.
I don't know if you'd really call it a craft beer, but Leinenkugel's Honey Weiss or Boulevard. Both of them I had at Skinner's. That was the go-to when I first turned 21.
And that other landmark of craft beer? How about your first IPA? This time, Drew, Seth, Derek, me.
First ever IPA was a Surly. There's a theme with the Surly with me. Trying to think of what their flagship was.
Furious?
Yeah, it had to
Probably
have been
Furious.
A Surly Furious, kind of one of their more typical ones. And I also tried a Mercenary very early on, and I thought it was just a gut-wrenching experience. I tried a couple sips of it, and I thought it was just one of the nastiest things I'd ever
That's pretty
drank.
big. Mine is Summit IPA. I remember that one pretty good, too. Probably not long after the Sam Adams, and I thought, this is awful. But I now really like that beer, and I still like to have one every now and then. How about you?
Goose Island's IPA was one of my very first, because it was one of the more, when I started drinking craft beer, one of the more widely available craft beers.
Sierra Nevada Torpedo. Yep.
That's a good first IPA.
Yeah. That was my go-to for a long time too. I didn't really deviate much. It's still a really good IPA.
It is. What about your favorite all-time IPA? This time, Drew, Seth, Derek, then me.
That's tough. Probably Odell's Mercenary. That's dangerous, but it's so good.
Dreadnought from Three Floyds. That's probably about it. That's one of my all-time favorite IPAs.
And I'm going to sound like a bit of a fanboy here, but it is going to be Todd the Axeman from Surly. A lot of Surly beers were kind of some of my first experiences into IPAs, and they kind of quickly became some of my favorites.
I have a hard time with favorite IPA, but I think it's Pliny. Pliny the Elder, just because every sip of that beer is better than the sip before. It's ridiculous. More of the 200th episode when Beer Untapped with Perry Miller continues. Welcome back to the 200th episode of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. We're just having some fun, talking about beer with Seth Cook and Derek Schmidt from Wooden Legs Brewing and Drew Eklund from the Brookings Liquor Store. All right, gentlemen, other than Wooden Legs, of course, what's your favorite brewery? Here's the answers from me, Seth, Derek, and Drew. It's close to me between Deschutes and Shells, but I'm going to go with Deschutes just because they make such a nice range of really great pale ale, great IPAs, great stouts, and a great winter ale that I love too. So for me, it's Deschutes.
That's tough. I like a lot of
I
beers.
know.
I like Odell's. I usually don't have a lot here, but I've never been disappointed with Odell's, and they're kind of one that you can probably get as one of the wider footprints. And I'm actually a really big Zipline fan. I think if that's a bit more of a regional brewery, but I think those guys do a fantastic job. Not nearly as wide as Odell's, but spot on for what they do.
If there's a brewery that I will almost always try to get whenever I can see it, it is Three Floyds. I enjoy almost everything they put out and will try very hard to get anything if it's even close to me. So it's not regional. You can't get it here very often, but it is probably my most sought after and favorite brewery right now.
I probably have to go with Surly. Everything I've had from them has been fantastic. And the brewery itself is really a destination brewery that really blew me away when I first went there.
Final question for today. If you could only drink one craft beer the rest of your life, what would it be? Here's Seth, Derek, me, Drew.
Probably Split Rock Creek. That would probably be the beer that we make. I enjoy that as a everyday beer. It's got a little bit more character than some of the light beers, but I can still enjoy it. And I've done that before where we've done a new batch of Split Rock Creek, or I've opened a growler and I haven't had one for a little while, and I'll drink it and be like, I still really like this beer. So I would say that one. I probably like Split Rock Creek is probably my desert island beer.
I could live on that one.
Probably a half-acre Daisy Cutter for me. It's just one of the best pale ales that I have out there, and it doesn't assault you in any way, just really well-rounded, and I really enjoy drinking that anytime.
I'm going to take a pale ale too, but it's pseudo-sue. When that's well-made, which it seems to be almost all the time these days, I think they've gotten consistent. I can drink that beer all the time.
I've really been feeling Dogfish Head's Sea Quench. I think I could drink a lot of that beer, so that's probably what I go with.
Did you make the picks along with us? The beautiful thing here, there are no wrong answers. That's it for this week's show. Number 200 in the books. Until next time, drink local and drink responsibly. Thank you for listening to this archived edition of Beer Untapped with Perry Miller. Feel free to listen to other episodes, and if there's anything you'd like us to talk about on a future show, please let us know. Thanks again.